Morning everyone. Today I'm revisiting one of my favourite locations to recapture and hopefully improve a landscape photography waterfall shot. So quite often I'm out and about trying to find new places to photograph, which is fantastic. I love to get to new places. But what often happens is when you go to a new place, you don't know the location, you don't know the best compositions, and you don't come away with the best photo. So what I'm doing today, I'm coming back to a location I've been to before. I was here last year in October, and I got this shot. And this is Padley Gorge, one of my favourite places in the Peak District. One of my favourite places anywhere, really. And what I'm going to do is go to that exact same location and I'm going to try and get the same shot but go through all the things that I'm changing to try and improve the photo. So we're going to head down there and we'll set up and get the shot. Okay, so here we are. It took me a little while to find this place again. Not sure why, but I walked up and down a few times, finally found it and we're here. There's a little friendly robin hopping about, that's really cool. And I've set up in roughly the same place as last year. I was using the wide angle lens last time around, so it's the 14 to 30mm Z lens. And last year I was at around about 18mm, f7.1. That was giving me about 1.6 seconds. But it was a little bit windy last year. So although the 1.6 second was good for getting the blur in the water, it was meaning that the leaves in the trees were moving around and that was causing motion blur in the image. So one of the ways I want to improve this image is to try and avoid that motion blur. Now the good thing is this year it's not as windy, so I can probably get away with a longish shutter speed and not get any motion blur in the leaves. But just to be double sure, I'm going to take two shots. One of the water with a long shutter speed to get that blur, but then another quicker shutter speed shot just to really capture everything really fast and sharp. And then I can merge those two shots together so that the leaves are sharp and the water's a little bit blurry. Now the only downside compared to last year is that the water isn't as powerful, there isn't as much water. It obviously hasn't been raining as much this year. Here's the robin. And what that means is that it's just not as dynamic, there isn't as much movement. I think last year we had a little whirlpool forming down here and I haven't got that. And that means that there's not quite as much interest in the foreground of the image, you're not going to get that movement. So I'm going to try a shot at 18mm, but after that what I'm going to do is maybe try and get a bit closer. I'll try some different focal lengths and see if I can improve my shot that way. So I can't remember last year if I used any filters or not. I may have used an ND filter to slow down the water a little bit. But this year I'm not going to do that, I'm going to use a polarizer instead. And because it's quite low light anyway under the canopy of the trees, the reduction of 1 to 2 stops in light from the polarizer is enough really to give me around about 3 seconds shutter speed. But what I'm finding is that I need a little bit of shine on the water. because there isn't enough interest or movement in the foreground water without a little bit of shine. So I am using the polarizer, but I'm not turning it up fully, I'm just using it a little bit. And I'm also at f8 for this shot. I just want that extra little bit of depth of field, and I think this lens is a little bit sharper at f8 than it is at 7.1. So I've come a little bit closer now and a little bit higher with the tripod. That means that I'm not going to get the foreground rocks in like I did last year, but I can get a little bit tighter on this area here, starting from the bottom of these rocks up to the top of that tree there. I did like the rocks in the shot last year, but sometimes it's nice to experiment and just get a little bit closer, a bit tighter on your subject and get a bit more detail. I'm at 30mm right now, and I'm using f8 still, but I've bumped my ISO up to about 160, and that's just giving me a slightly faster shutter speed, which means that the water is not quite as blurred, because it was too blurred before at 3 seconds. 1.6 seconds is much better and blurs it just the right amount, I think. Okay, so I've put the 24 to 70mm Z lens on now, and I'm just trying out a portrait composition. Like I said, it's always good to experiment, and it just cuts out some of the empty space at the left and right, and we can really focus in on the tree, the rocks here, and the waterfall. So I'm focusing just on the rock, which is about in line with the tree, and we'll see what that looks like. Alright, so for my final composition, I'm staying where I am, a little bit further back, like I was last year, but I'm getting a bit tighter, zooming in. I'm nearly at 50mm, probably 45, 50mm. And that's just getting rid of all the empty space at the bottom. I haven't got the foreground rocks again, but I do think this shot's better, getting a bit tighter. I've got the tree and I've got the waterfall, and I'm cutting out all of the empty space at the bottom. I'm at f9, ISO 200. That's giving me 1.6 second shutter speed. And because I'm cutting out most of the pool where the shiny water was, it means that I can turn my polarizer up a bit and cut out some more of the glare on the rocks and the trees. So yeah, we'll see how that comes out, and hopefully it's going to be an improvement on last year. Alright then, that's it, I'm wrapping up now. I've got my shot. There are some things that I preferred last year and some things that I preferred this year. That's mainly the conditions. Last year the water was flowing much more strongly, but this year there was less wind, so that was good. Last year there was a bit more autumn colours, this year a bit more green, but I can edit that in post. So I think my final shot, which was a bit tighter, is a better composition personally. But leave a comment down below, let me know what you think. Did you think last year's shot was better, or did you think this year's was an improvement? I'll put them on screen now. And that's it for this video, so thanks a lot for watching everyone. If you're a regular, I really appreciate you watching as always. Thanks a lot. And if you're new to the channel, then please consider subscribing. You can click down here on the big red button or on my face over here. And that way you'll keep up to date with everything I'm doing each and every week. There's a new video every Sunday morning, 10 AM UK time. So that's it for this one. I hope you'll catch me for the next one. Until then, thanks a lot everyone. Bye for now.